Thank you all very much. We are going to start our second section, presented by Moose. So I would like to invite Pi and Ma, please.
Okay, here we go. This is going to be a longer speech, so get comfortable. Hi, my name is Maya Ho, and I'm the founder of Moves.
Hello, my name is Kai Shea, and I'm the co-founder of Moves.
Hi, my name is Sheridan Harris, and I'm the studio manager at Moves.
And we are the women behind Moves.
Moves is a gender equality center dedicated to empowering the people around us, especially women. We offer community and fitness classes at our studio every day, from yoga classes, art classes, language exchange, book club, and much, much more. All of our classes are donation-based and aimed at connecting people.
Today's topic is women's empowerment. We're honored to be invited to talk to you all about it. However, we believe that we can't get into women's empowerment until we've touched upon gender equality. We live in a society where women are rarely empowering each other and where women face daily injustices. So instead, we're going to talk about how gender inequality is reflected in our lives and the work we do to highlight the necessity of creating a gender equal society to empower all of us. So, what does gender inequality look like?
So I was talking to a couple of women the other day, and I asked them about how they experience gender inequality in their everyday life. And they all started talking about sexual harassment at their workplace. They said it happens on a daily basis in most mixed gender workplaces, and that the harassment usually comes from a male who's got a higher position than them. They believe that some men work hard to get further up the ladder simply so that they can have more sexual privileges at work. Experiences went from being asked to come to someone's office to pick a tie, to a male resting his hand on a woman's thigh during a meeting, to a woman being pulled to sit on a man's lap during an office group photo. So, do any of you guys recognize this kind of behavior? Has it happened to you? Or maybe, have you done it?
Can you believe that this happens at workplaces that have annual sexual harassment seminars? This happens in front of people who say nothing to stop it. And sometimes it happens from the encouragement of coworkers. One woman had an experience at a trade office in Taipei. She had a meeting with a married man who said to her, "I wish I had met you earlier." In my own experiences as a paralegal in Washington, D.C., I was told by my attorneys to stand closer to them so they could smell me. This may seem petty to you, but if this happens over and over again, you might start thinking, but why?
But what about reporting it? Maybe some of you guys are thinking, why didn't we just report it? Well, here's the thing. 1, no one would believe us. 2, it's a justified action. I mean, come on, you're being sensitive. They're just being friendly. And 3, if we did report it, we risk losing our jobs.
In Taiwan, the rate of success for sexual harassment cases is difficult to say at best. But through Moves, we've been in contact with women who have experienced sexual harassment and or assault at their workplace and know that filing a complaint is an extremely bureaucratic and complicated process. Many administrators are not trained properly to handle these cases with sensitivity, and it takes at least 1 to 2 years to process. Because it takes so long and it's such a complicated process, many women either settle for money, are fired, or quit their jobs. When settling, the amount they received was barely enough to cover legal expenses, let alone counseling sessions to cope with their PTSD. None of these women received justice. So now what? Imagine this.
You start working in an office with decent pay. You have job security and insurance, and your family is happy, and so are you. Then a little time passes, and the harassment starts. It started with a wink, then a lingering hand. At first, you're a little shocked, but after a couple of months, it's normal, it's expected, it's justified. Sometimes his hand brushes your butt as you're walking by. People say, oh, he's just being nice to you, don't worry. You keep working and ignore it. Time passes, and by now the men are comfortable with you, and they're getting even more handsy. They start reaching over you to grab a pen instead of you handing it to them. They stand closer to you to smell your perfume. They start caressing your hair and telling you how pretty it is. They tried one thing, got away with it, and it escalated. You question it again. People ask, why would you think that? You just want attention. Stop wearing skirts to work. Don't dress like that. You brought this upon yourself, so you shut up. You keep quiet and let it happen. A year or so goes by, and you get a raise. So does your other female coworker, but her raise is higher. Now the people in your office are speculating. There are rumors. How did she get that position? Did she sleep her way up there? No, she's not pretty enough. So weird she got that job. Guys, this is the life for a lot of women every single day. The doubts, the rumors, the questions, not only here in Taiwan, but in the whole wide world.
In 2016 in Europe, 32% of women reported being sexually harassed by a boss, colleague, or customer. Women with a university degree and in the top management category are more likely to experience sexual harassment. In 2017, in the Asia-Pacific region, 40% of women reported sexual harassment in their workplace. In 2018, in Australia, 54% of women experienced sexual harassment in their workplace. In 2019, in the United States, 34% of women reported being sexually harassed by a colleague. These numbers are higher among women of color.
But these are only the numbers of reported cases. Imagine the numbers of non-reported. So how did we get here? How is this not seen as gender inequality? Usually when we talk about women's empowerment, it's related to empowering women in third world countries by buying their handmade bracelets and bags. When we talk about gender equality, we talk about equal pay. While those issues are very important, they don't have much to do with the world we are living in. Sure, it's nice to empower women by buying their bracelets and getting paid the same as men. But what about everything else? The things that happen every day that harm us, that train our mind to believe that women don't deserve a promotion unless it's given by a man. That women are objects, should have a submissive voice, and live under the rules made by men.
All over the world, institutionalized and culturally accepted forms of discrimination, harassment, and violence are used to curtail women's freedoms and choices. Across the globe, countries with higher rates of gender inequality are the worst offenders of sex trafficking. China ranks 103 out of 149 countries for gender parity and is the worst offender of sex trafficking. There are more than 4 million victims of sex trafficking globally. 99% of them are women and girls. 49 countries lack laws for the protection of women from domestic violence. Marital rape is legal in at least 10 countries. Domestic violence cases have surged globally since COVID-19. In fact, 1 in 3 girls experience sexual harassment or rape around the world. Under the law, rape is treated as an issue of morality rather than violence in 15 countries, including Taiwan. We can't do much to change these facts, but we can all contribute to a world that is more empowering for women than it is right now. We must stop thinking that things will change and do more to change our own environment. Let's scroll back and see how and when it went wrong. How this systematically unequal society we live in came to be.
So here we go. Systematic gender inequality. Let's take a look at it. So once again, my name is Maya, and throughout my 27 years of living, I've come to realize that gender inequality is in the system. I've seen it firsthand because I was born and raised in Denmark and visited my family in Taiwan every summer. My parents migrated to Denmark while their family stayed back in Taiwan. And I'm going to tell you about how I came to be who I am today and how a Taipei-raised girl named Melody came to be who she is, all through the eyes of systematic gender inequality. So ta-da, here we have me, born and raised in Copenhagen in Denmark. My parents are happy. They got no worries because the firstborn was a boy and the second could be a girl. And here we have Melody. She was born in Taipei, Taiwan. She is girl number 3 and is a huge disappointment because her parents wanted a son.
Already here, 2 newborn girls, and ding, one's got an advantage. How many women here tonight have felt that their gender is a disappointment to their family or society? How many of you have brothers? How many of you have felt less valued than your brothers? In countries with a high preference for males, sex ratios are skewed to show more male births than female. It is estimated today that across the globe, there are over 130 million missing girls due to infanticide, selective abortion, neglect, and malnourishment. In 2009, Taiwan ranked 101 out of 122 countries for son bias.
So here I am, 5 years old. I wear hand-me-downs and I play soccer in kindergarten. They call me a tomboy, but they also let me play and I don't have to wear pink. I've got choices. Melody is also 5 years old. She wears what people call pretty little princess dresses and has her hair done every day. She does not play with the opposite gender. She is told to be a good girl and that boys hit you because they like you.
Do you see what's happening here, guys? I'm going to let that one sink in for a moment. The girls are 5 years old. One is playing soccer and the other one is an object. She is taught that if a boy likes you, they hit you. In 2016 in Taiwan, 117,552 domestic violence cases were reported. That's 322 cases each day. 5 cases every minute. There are many cases where the husband, who is under pressure at work, will go home and just beat his wife. This can't be an excuse. You can't beat your wife because you are stressed. The pressures of patriarchal and emotionally suppressed society affects everyone. When men are taught that expressing their feelings and being vulnerable are weaknesses, and women are taught to be objects, that they're caretakers and just supporting characters, we all become victims of oppression and toxic masculinity. In this case, like many others, it started at age 5.
I am now 12 years old. I've learned from sex education class that menstruation is normal. Menstrual pads are provided for free in school and all girls in my class are synced, which means we all get our period around the same time each month and we talk about it. My period isn't a big deal. I'm still playing soccer. The important thing is dreaming about my future. Maybe I could become the next Prime Minister of Denmark, or maybe I could win an Oscar. People around me are voicing their dreams and goals, and there's encouragement from teachers to dream big. Melody is also 12. When she got her period, her mom told her that she is now a woman. She doesn't know anything about why she is menstruating or anything about sex. It is a taboo amongst everyone, even her girlfriends. She feels ashamed every month and is told that it is gross and dirty. She takes one day off school every month to hide from the world while menstruating quietly in her room. This is considered good girl behavior, being nice and quiet.
This is puberty. This is a classic example of how the school system, sex education, and the information we as a society allow our children to have access to. The world is shaping before these girls' eyes. One is without taboos and receives support from people around her. The other is alone, hiding in secrecy in her bedroom. In Taiwan, people of all genders hold negative stigma about periods. Women are told everything from, you can't work out, you shouldn't eat cold things, that's gross, to even more harmful statements like, there's something wrong with you, and you can't use a tampon because it'll make you infertile. We're told that having a period, something that is natural, is shameful and dirty. Imagine how these myths and statements make a young girl feel about herself, about her body, about her place in the world. These culturally accepted but scientifically unsound facts have been used for generations, and to this day, they continue to suppress women with wrong information. How would you feel if you were told you were dirty starting at age 12 or even before?
I'm now 18 years old and graduated high school. I'm standing at a crossroad. Do I make my family proud and study medicine, or do I pursue the arts because that's what I'm truly interested in? I ask my parents and they say, do what makes you happy. We'll always be proud of you. I moved to New York and pursued the arts. Up until now, I've lived in a bubble where I've never put much thought into what it means to be a woman. No one prepared me for what was going to happen once I left that Danish bubble. But what I've learned so far is to stand up for myself. I know how to fight back, and I know how to say no. I've been conditioned to be outspoken and a strong individual. Melody is also 18 years old and has graduated high school with average marks. The marks determine her future. She's never been presented choices. It's always been, the better you do, the better you get. Make your parents proud. But she was never above average in school, so she never really made her parents proud. And on top of that, she is considered ugly. Her hair is short, her frame too skinny, her nose too big. She enters an average university to study accounting. The class is filled with girls like her, average looking, with average grades, whose parents hope they'll get a job at a bank as soon as they graduate.
One girl is about to dive headfirst on her own into the big scary world, and the other is following a predetermined path. Let's look at this further. What does it do to a girl when you teach her to think critically and dream big? How does it affect her personality, her behavior, her confidence, and her expectation for the world? If we were to ask Maya or Melody what makes them happy, how would their answers differ? Would Melody know what it means to make herself happy, or would her happiness be tied to the contentment of her family or partner? Imagine this. Both girls are walking home at night down an empty street. A man approaches them, touches her butt, and grabs her arm. He pushes himself on her and pins her to the wall. How do you think either girl would respond? After being conditioned and trained her whole life to be submissive and heed men's expectations, do you think Melody would defend herself to unwanted sex? Who do you think she would blame? Would she think, I shouldn't have worn such a short skirt? Would she blame herself? Would there be a police report?
I'm now 24 years old and I lived in New York for 6 years. The world I'm living in is so distant from the world I grew up in. I've got thick skin from the daily catcalls, the looks I get from men, the harassment and attempted assaults I've encountered. I'm now in a relationship with a woman. A few years back, I came out as a bisexual, and my mom said, good for you, you can't trust boys anyway. I've had several positive sexual experiences and know what I like and what I don't. I'm enjoying exploring my sexual desires and my first romantic relationship with a woman. I'm discovering myself and feel confident and comfortable in my body. Melody is 24 and lives with her boyfriend, who she met in university and is the only person she's ever been with. She doesn't particularly enjoy sex and often does it to satisfy her boyfriend's needs. One night he comes home a little tipsy from having drinks with co-workers. He wants to have sex, but Melody don't want to. He starts to undress her and touch her. She lets him do it because She wants to make him happy. Then he starts to undress himself and climb on top of her. She says, 我不要, and says she's sorry, but she's not feeling well. He thinks she is playing hard and just being coy. After they have sex, Melody cries in the other room. She never tells anyone because she's ashamed and thinks it's her fault that she's not in the mood.
This is called marital or domestic rape, not unwanted sex. This is rape.
I'm now 27 years old and standing right in front of you all. You can see who I am, shaped by the experiences I've had in life. I'm now in a position like this. I run Moves, a place where people like Melody come in every single day. I'm in a relationship with a man who supports me and isn't intimidated by my position. Melody is also still in a relationship, married and pregnant with her first child. She quit her job and her husband is working extra hours to financially support them all. But because of the extra hours, he comes home exhausted and stressed and is putting on more work at her shoulders. She has to be nicer and quieter. He yells at her, talks down to her, and sometimes threatens to hit her. But it's okay because there's no way out for her. Divorce isn't an option when there's a kid on the way. They have a joint bank account, so she wouldn't have any money if she left him. And who would want a woman who's been through a divorce and got a child anyway? She was lucky she even got him. This is the reality again for a lot of women. Your stuff is all your fault, but what if we go back in time? What would be different if one single thing was changed in the past? Would Melody's life be any different if she was born into a family who was proud of her gender? Would her life be different if she weren't raised to be nice and quiet? How would a whole nation change if women were asked to dream big instead of doing what your grades and familial expectations will allow you to do? Changing systematic gender inequality can start with you, but how? Moves is built on the foundation that through encouragement, support, an individual can dream, laugh, and grow. To know that we all struggle and that you are never ever alone.
When gender inequality is so rooted in tradition, society, education, and law, it becomes hard, seemingly impossible to break out of. Where do we even start? We start with the individual. Whatever your gender is, cut the crap and empower the women in your life. It's everyone's responsibility to encourage our girls to be fearless, strong, and driven in their dreams, to talk to them about believing in themselves. Tell them that they are not supporting characters in their family or partner's life, that they are the star in their own movie, that they are more than what is seen on the outside. It's everyone's responsibility to encourage our boys to be kind, thoughtful, and sensitive, to talk to them about their feelings, show them that it's okay to express themselves, that being vulnerable is not a weakness, and that it's okay to ask for help. Then we move on to groups. That is, feminist groups on campuses, organizations that support gender equality, that provide resources and training. It is spaces like Moves, SoGal, Amma Museum, and Serve the People Association. It is publications like Les Magazine and Womaning. It is a seminar like this one that we're having right now. We listen, learn from each other, grow, and pass it on. We look at the injustices happening in the world, and instead of watching and thinking, oh, that's great what they're doing to create awareness, we take responsibility, we take accountability, and we take the initiative to bring awareness and support groups that bring about the change and the equality we will all benefit from.
And then we move on to leaders, and this is you and how you choose to pass it on. You are the people who can make a big change. Your voice can be heard by thousands, maybe even millions of people. You choose where money goes, what issues are brought to the forefront. You can make proposals for laws to change. It's your job to do that, because I wish I could, but I'm a woman and my gender and skin color is the #1 most searched category on Pornhub. It is called Amateur Submissive Asian Girl.
Inequality isn't a trend, it isn't a hashtag, and it isn't just something young people are talking about. It is history. Her story, my story, and your story. We are all affected by injustice, inequality, and misogyny. We need to be the change, not just for our parents, our siblings, but for our future. We need to look at inequality from a macro and micro lens. How does inequality reveal itself in our everyday lives? What are the signs? What do we ourselves do to perpetuate toxic masculinity?
So what can we do today? We've discussed a lot with you here tonight, and as with most issues that are so complex that they're so ingrained into every single aspect of society, it can feel difficult, even overwhelming to know where to begin. So often after events like these, people go home and then they don't do anything. They don't take any action, they don't make any change. But we cannot have that. Not when you, all of us here, we are the leaders. You are the leaders who we are counting on to model the change that we hope to see in society. So we're gonna ask you all to take out your phones right now or a piece of paper, and we're gonna do a little exercise. So go ahead and take those out. So now that you have these out, we want all of you to take a few minutes right here, right now, and actively think about 3 active things that you can do to help create a gender equal society. 3 things. It can be maybe talking to that coworker last week about the inappropriate comment they made. Or maybe talking to the little boys in your classroom or your son about being more sensitive and telling him that it's okay to cry. If you're in politics, it can be talking about making an amendment to a law that discriminates against people based on their gender. So take a few moments now and really think about 3 things that you have the power to change. So now that you've had a little bit of time to think, we want you to get into groups of 2 to 3 people around you, and then discuss what you've talked about. Discuss what you've written down on your phones or on your piece of paper, and then talk with each other about what you said. Listen, ask questions. If you know each other, maybe you can combine your resources to create a larger effect, or check in with each other to see how your progress is going and hold each other accountable. So take that time now, get into groups, and talk about what you've written down. We'll come back together as a group.